Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and welcome back to another Loomian Legacy analysis video. In today's video, we're going to be analyzing the two new Loomians of the Christmas event in Loomian Legacy. And these two Loomians are actually pretty interesting. And yeah, so I think first off, we're gonna have to be analyzing Snowball. Well, not particularly Snowball. It's evolution line Wintrix. I don't have the evolution right now because I'm lazy, but you kind of want to run this personality. You can also run very smart, frail, tender for hitting as hard as possible because its stats and its final evolution is actually pretty useful. You want to run Peace of Mind and Icicle Trap, and you can just run Dual Stab when you evolve it. But yeah, it has 58 melee attack, so you're not going to be using that a lot. But the other sets are kind of usable. It has a below average HP, but it does kind of get balanced out by its two defensive stats. Both 81 and 85 are pretty decent, especially for an offensive Loomian like Wintrix. And it has 114 range attack, 92 energy, and 94 speed. Now, this actually might look bad to you because its stat spread is kind of average in my opinion, other than its speed. But it does have its ability Wise, Chill, and Glide. Glide, if you didn't know, your speed gets increased by one stage when you use an air-type move. Now, that's pretty niche in my opinion, and since the set that I probably will be doing in like a few days after will be a wall breaking set, so Glide wouldn't be really useful. And you might say, well, Wintrix can sweep, but the problem is it's going to be very hard for this to get into the battle because of its HP stat, and you want to do as much damage as you can because you're not going to be in the battle a lot. Its two abilities is Wise and Chill. Chill will pair very well with its move that it learns. Well, not learns. You can get it by rallying. It's called Resonate. And Resonate is typeless. And for its Chill ability, it turns typeless moves into ice moves. So you're going to get stabbed on Wintrix with Resonate, and Resonate's a 90 base power move, so it's gonna do a lot of damage. But you also have Brain Freeze, which it gets it by evolving. It's 80 strength, and I think it has a status effect. And yeah, Scourge the opponent with a painfully cold stimulus. This move is super effective against mind types. So basically, I would run its last ability. What's it called? No, not searching. Its last ability. No, this is Akhalos. What am I doing? Its last ability, Wise, and most people get confused by this move because it doesn't really go in depth of what it actually does. And in the battle, moves used by the possessor that are not effective against the opponent are doubled in power. So basically, resisted moves, they do half of the damage as usual. And since you are doubling in power, that's basically a 50% increase in your moves. So in a regular resisted move, you're doing double the power. So for example, you're using you're using Blizzard. Even though it doesn't get Blizzard, we'll just be using that. Blizzard is a 90 base power move, and if you double that, that's 180. So you might be saying, wow, that's pretty good. But since it's not very effective, it's still keeping the resisted effect. You're only going to be doing the normal damage. And for 4 times resist, you're only going to be doing half of the resisted damage. So overall, Wise is going to be a really good move, a really good ability for Wintrix. And yeah, its moves that it learns is Brain Freeze, Provoke, Air Blade, yeah, Peace of Mind, Perch, Resonate, Gust, even Baffle, and Icicle Trap. Those are all the moves that it would want to run. Probably not Baffle because its speed tier is 95, and most likely most people prefer taking the hit and then switching out. That's why Luminami is so common. So you probably won't be seeing a lot of this move, but people will definitely try to run defensive Wintrix. But just use Luminami. I'm gonna be real, just use Luminami if you want a good pivot. And yeah, it can run any of these three moves. Personally, in my next showcase, I'm gonna be running Icicle Trap and Peace of Mind, because Peace of Mind boosts attack and special attack defense, and Icicle Trap is just really good hazard. And Perch would actually be a good option because you are going to be healing yourself over time. So the moveset that I would run is Brain Freeze with the Wise ability. Where's Airblade? Airblade, Icicle Trap, Peace of Mind. You can run Perch over Icicle Trap, and you probably should because there are better Icicle Trap users in the game right now. And since this thing isn't that bulky, yeah, what are its base stats? It isn't that bulky. You won't be living in time to use Icicle Trap. So yeah, that's Wintrix. Overall, I think it's pretty good. Well, it's not the best, but it's decent. Its Wise ability definitely is a pretty good ability to have, and it kind of gets struck down by its weaknesses. Fire is very common, so is electric, and metal is very common. You have stuff like a Stratosaur is probably gonna rise once it gets its Soul Burst, Valkyrie, Tyrex, Oxydrake. Yeah, it's not a fun time for this thing, but it does have resistances to air and bug, so it can be used as like a check to Zeppelin since it is immune to its earth thing. And bug, yeah, bug is a pretty good thing to resist, especially when there's so much bug types like Swolder, Terrafly, and Buzzlin. Oh yeah, and Spreezy too. So overall, this thing, I can see the potential in Wise, Snowell's evolution, Wintrix, and yeah, while that potential may not be much, it can definitely be used on more offensive teams. Well, more defensive teams, I should say. And we have Groundios, the Akhalos. I don't really know what I'm doing with this thing, but yeah, it's ice water type, so it should resist like a bit of things. It has, nope, that's a game. It has 4 weaknesses, 3 resistances, although typeless isn't really that common. So yeah, there you go. But you do have a major resistance to ice. So what most people would probably try and do is probably use this as a check to Himber. Well, it is weak to Brawler, but still, it can use as a check to Himber. And yeah, with its base stats, it can actually use it to its advantage because you have a buttload of HP. That's a pretty high melee attack stat. A low range attack stat that you would never use. Although there are people that will try and run Brain Freeze to hit KO Ventation, but then again, it's Ventation. Like, Ventation is really easy to kill. So yeah, and first speed is a decent speed here. It's not the best, but it's definitely good for this thing because it can outspeed stuff like Valkyrie and Wrestlin if Wrestlin is running very brawny. And since it's an ice type, it definitely will want to outspeed some brawler types. Decent energy stat. It's a roamer, and it's actually one of the only roamers that have how do you say this? A decent energy stat, because most roamers have high energy stats, and based on its stat distribution, it kind of helps it out. And its last 2 defenses are pretty good too. What I would run personally, I'm running Brawny to hit as hard as possible, and you are boosting 120 melee attack, so this is going to be very needed. 120 HP 120 energy, 200 attack, 160 speed. This is to outspeed 160 speed, no 120 speed Infernixes and max speed Wrestling. So yeah, you probably want this speed tier. 200 melee attacks, self-explanatory. I don't know how to say that word. 20 energy to get yourself to 260 energy in level 50. That lets you throw out a lot of these moves without getting a weird energy stat at the end. 120 HP is just the leftovers. And this is the moveset that you'd probably want to run. You can try and run Vicious Snap over, not Vicious Snap, Hydro Slash over Aqua Jaws. But I personally run this because it lowers its melee defense on the target, and that lets you hit harder with the rest of your moves. Let's say for example Himber switches in, although you probably won't see that a lot. It lowers its melee defense, and you can probably one-hit KO it after. Icicle Trap, self-explanatory. Ice Hammer, it's his hardest hitting ice move. And Brawn Boost, +2 melee attack. This thing is going to be very scary once it gets to +2. And it's also decently fast, so yeah, there you go. You can choose to run, where is it? Not Water Bomb. You can choose to run Body Slam if you really want to, or even Soft Water. Because, you know, HP gain, but it does cost a lot of energy, so there you go. So yeah, that's basically my thoughts on these Loomians. Akhalos, pretty good Loomian. In my opinion, one of the best ice types to come out. Probably won't be used much because Himber's just probably better to use. And Wintrix, it has a small niche of like being good on the like bulky teams that it can take advantage of its speed, but yeah. So that's the video. Stay tuned for the Loomian showcase for Wintrix. See you in the next video.